Happy holidays, Screaming Howards members. This is your commissioner, Ian Levering. It's that time of the year, so time to get in the holiday spirit. This is my best shot at being festive. I don't own a Santa hat, and this is the closest thing I got, so you just got to work with me here. Um, it was a big weekend for us last week, as all Week 14s are, because it's the last week before the playoffs start. And this one was particularly significant because we actually had 6 teams still in playoff contention when that Thursday night game rolled around. So just really big games for 6 teams in our league. Let's recap what happened. In the first matchup I'm going to talk about, it was the most insignificant matchup we had this weekend. It was Mason versus Wayne. Wayne was out of playoff contention, and Mason was in whether he won or lost. So the result of that matchup didn't do anything except determine a little bit of playoff seeding. Wayne beats Mason 113 to 94. The next matchup was Jeremy versus David. Jeremy was out of playoff contention, but this was big for David. He needed to win to have a chance to get in the playoffs. He needed to win and get a little bit of help from me and Cody, his fellow David members. However, he lost to Jeremy, and that effectively knocked him out of the playoff race. So sorry, David. Kind of ends his Cinderella run there. We had Al versus Walter. Al was in first place in Goliath, so a win would have been nice, but he didn't necessarily need one. If he lost, he needed Chad to lose as well. I'm going to talk about Chad and my matchup in a little bit here, but nevertheless, he continued his pretty surprising run this year, thrashing Walter 101 to 47. Kind of a fitting end to Walter's 3-11 season. He receives the Snowman for that abysmal score, and Al's in the playoffs. Congrats, Al. Cody versus Brad, our next matchup. Cody, if he won, he was in, which he did. He beat Brad by 25. So congratulations, Nash Clash. You're in the playoffs. By virtue of Mason's loss, Cody actually snagged the number 1 seed. In our final matchup, this was the only matchup that had 2 playoff contenders going head-to-head. This was me and Chad. Very close matchup, as most people predicted. Chad beats me 117 to 104. He was just the superior team. However, because of David's loss, I made it into the playoffs regardless of the result. And Chad, because he started a game back of everyone else in playoff contention, didn't quite have enough happen and go his way to make the playoffs. He finishes 8-6, but Al finished 9-5 in Goliath, and because of the point totals of our 8-6 teams, we only took 1 Goliath team and 3 David teams, so Chad kind of left out in the cold there. Really had some bad breaks this season as far as injuries, and then we all know that infamous 78-78 matchup where he loses to David 5 days after the fact. So a lot of things could have gone differently for Chad this season. My sincerest condolences to his Super Bowl victory. I believe one of the best 4 teams in the league, but the ball just didn't bounce his way. So with that being said, our playoff matchups are looking like this. The number 1 seed, Cody's Nash Clash, at 9-5, with like I said, the number 1 seed playing our number 4 seed, which is myself. I finished 8-6, and then our number 2 seed, which is Al's Mighty Owls. They were first in Goliath, so they got the number 2 seed at 9-5 versus Mason's Power Pips at 9-5 as well. So those are some pretty good matchups we're looking at for next week. I personally would like to go out on a limb and predict me versus Mason final. Regardless of the seedings, I believe that we have the 2 best teams in the league, but we'll just see how it works out this coming weekend. Looking forward to that. There's a few other things I want to address, just league-wise. First of all, no Nostradamus this week. Well, this past weekend. I think that pretty much taken for granted. We had one last weekend, so I think that 2 in a row would have been pushing it. So the gods are not going to let that happen. No Nostradamus. Also, our 2-week period for commissioner for the commissioner nominations is up. So I will be staying on as commissioner for next year. I hope nobody's disappointed or against that fact because you had your chance to try to change it and you didn't take advantage of it. So I will be your commissioner for the 2011-2012 fantasy season. Thank you very much. And then finally, we've had some talk on the league board about next year's draft order. I threw an idea about there that we do it kind of like an NBA draft where teams in inverse order of their standings got an increasingly larger shot at the first pick, and then we kind of pick out of a hat and determine the seeding that way. It kind of combines our current way of doing it with our old way of doing it, which was picking out of a hat just randomly. So that was an idea I'd been mulling around in my head. I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. I've gotten some interesting responses. On the whole, it's been kind of negative, which is perfectly fine. We just want to do what the majority of the league wants to do, and obviously I'm perfectly fine, and it's much easier to do the draft the way we've been doing it. So I want to continue to hear from people. I'm not going to kind of close up shop on this discussion yet. So all of you who haven't weighed in, please do so, and have a great week. All you teams in the postseason, good luck, and I'll be back in Virginia Beach in the next couple of days. Actually, I just took my last final about an hour ago, so I'm really excited to be home. Hopefully I will see all of you soon. All right, take care.